This is Caribbean News Desk. I'm Dennis Chabrol. First, the headlines. A top executive of a major Caribbean company placed down the impact of falling oil prices on Trinidad and Tobago. Guyana's opposition leader shuts the door on future talks with the president on local government elections. Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General insists on thorough probe into cocaine surgery. U.S. and other experts map Ebola strategy in Cuba. And the Dominican Republic charges someone with terrorism for the first time. Details coming up.
We are one Caribbean, one people, one nation. Facing the same destiny, so separated we are. As one, let's come together. One market economy. Caribbean is how it should be. Let's support CARICOM.
The President and Chief Executive Officer of Massy Group, Gervase Warner, says that falling oil prices will not impact on his company and Trinidad and Tobago, at least just not yet. The price of oil has fallen by 25% since mid-June to about $80 per barrel, about the same figure to which Trinidad and Tobago's budget is pegged. The Massy boss says companies like his will not be affected by lower oil prices unless it falls to about $70 per barrel.
No, I don't think it would impact us significantly. You'd have to go a lot lower. You have to go to a crisis proportion. But a lot of things that suggest like the production cost of shale oil, which is driving a lot of the production in the United States, $70, it wouldn't go below $70. It's uneconomical to develop shale oil. So I think in the vicinity of around $80 per barrel. You know, we were there before. I don't think that it will too adversely impact the Trinidad and Tobago economy, but it will be something that the government will have to address if their revenues are reduced. The government responsibly ought to reduce expenditure, and that might be difficult for government because it won't be popular.
Mr. Warner says cheaper oil is good news for non-oil producing countries in the Caribbean. The Trinidad and Tobago government hopes to cushion the revenue loss from oil with earnings from natural gas. Puerto Rico's government told the investment community that it plans to overhaul its revenue system and raise an excise tax on oil by 60%. Authorities say that's part of an effort to reduce a large debt burden and bolster an economy that has been stagnant for 8 years. The announcement was made during a teleconference for analysts and investors in which Melba Costa, the president of the Government Development Bank for Puerto Rico, or BGF, reviewed macroeconomic results for the first fiscal quarter, July to September. Acosta said the overall idea is to shift the emphasis away from income taxes and towards consumption taxes. During the teleconference, she said a bill is under consideration in the legislature that includes measures to financially shore up Puerto Rico's Highway and Transportation Authority, or ACT. That authority is one of several large public corporations in the island that are beset by a heavy debt load and operational problems. That bill proposes an increase in the excise tax on oil starting March 1, 2015, from $9.25 per barrel to $15.50 per barrel. The aim is to increase an additional $178 million annually and use that extra revenue to alleviate the debts of the authority and invest in public transportation. The tax hike will not apply to the fuel purchased by the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, a government-owned corporation that also is experiencing severe financial woes. Guyana's opposition leader David Granger on Friday announced that he has called off talks with President Donald Rambutar on local government elections. Those polls have not been held since 1994 because of delays in local government legislative reforms and, more recently, government's reluctance to do so because it lost its parliamentary majority in the 2011 general election. Granger, as a Partnership for National Unity, or APNU, has given the government a September 15 ultimatum to name a date for the polls. Mr. Granger says he will not be meeting with the Guyanese leader again on local government elections. The president earlier this week basically ruled out the holding of the polls soon because APNU wants the local polls, and yet the Alliance for Change has tabled a no-confidence motion.
They voted in the parliament year after year, and now we're hearing them talking about the unconstitutionality of the elections. Now they're asking me to name a date, but they have one party got a no-confidence motion, and the other party publicly said that they will support that motion. Well, I will be rightly ridiculed by any right-thinking person if faced with such a situation that our minister goes to announce a date for local government election. It would be rather foolish to do something like that. How can they expect that to happen?
The opposition leader says that continuing talks with the president on local government elections will be pointless. Mr. Granger disagrees that he was duped by the president into participating in the talks.
I was fulfilling my constitutional obligation as leader of the opposition. The meeting was held at his request, and there was no outcome, and he made an announcement at the National Two-House Conference, and I regard it as the last word on the subject. He's the president of the country. I wrote him in September telling him to name a date by the 15th of September, and he hasn't done so. He made an announcement at the National Two-House Conference, so he's doing all the talking. If he wants to move ahead, he has to name a date for local government election. He's not doing us a favor. It's a constitutional obligation. He doesn't have an option.
Guyana's opposition leader David Granger. Most local government councils have fallen into administrative disrepair due to death, migration and resignation of many office holders. Poor drainage systems, bad roads, poor market conditions and inefficient waste collection are among major problems facing towns and villages. Specialists and government representatives from 34 countries of the Western Hemisphere, including the United States, have outlined a coordinated action plan to prevent the spread of the Ebola virus in the region. The summit has brought together 278 health professionals and officials of the Americas to the Cuban capital to put together a roadmap for the actions the region's countries will need to take to counter the threat posed by the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. An exchange of opinions and strategies against Ebola and the coordination of actions dominated the two-day summit organized by ALBA, formerly known as the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, that invited member countries of the Community of Latin America and the Caribbean states to participate. Among the key proposals was the establishment of a network of epidemiological surveillance and centers intended for the reception of biological samples of the virus and the treatment of infected people. The final report of the meeting, read by Marcia Cobas, Cuba's Deputy Minister of Public Health, proposed stimulating the development of rapid action trained multidisciplinary medical teams and to ensure compliance with biosecurity requirements established by the global and Pan-American health organizations. The document recommends the creation of a national center in the countries to tackle the Ebola threat, which systematically updates the national and international epidemiological situation and coordinates all the preventative measures for the disease. It also advocated strengthening control in countries with staff in affected areas or those under risk. The acquisition of equipment for personal protection in the region at preferential rates and the creation of a regional reserve for its immediate distribution in case of an emergency was another of the points listed in a summary agreed to by the participants. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC Director for Central America Nelson Arboleda, said that his country will extend its support to Pan American Health Organization, or PAHO, in the actions to be coordinated in the American continent against the deadly disease. Arboleda told the press that the CDC expected to coordinate with PAHO for training health workers in the region in epidemiology and laboratory skills. According to the U.S. representative, the summit was a very rich technical experience where they have learned about the plans of different countries, which has helped as a bloc to identify the areas that they need to improve on in order to be more prepared in the region. Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General Anand Ramlogan has insisted that police must carry out a thorough investigation into a surgery that removed cocaine from a man.
It is a well-known and well-established medium and method for transporting drugs in a human being. And therefore, it would be naive in the extreme to believe that the doctor and other medical staff were not alerted to the criminal nature of both the patient and the operation they had embarked upon. And I therefore, I therefore would ask that the Commissioner of Police continue the investigations with the advice they have received from the Office of the DPP, but not allow Trinidad and Tobago to become the laughing stock of the world on this matter, because that is exactly the kind of absurdity it will result in.
Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General Anand Ramlogan speaking on Trinidad and Tobago's Power 102 FM. Mr. Ramlogan's comments came against the background of police saying that it was unlikely that a doctor or patient will be arrested because there was insufficient evidence. The surgery was done last December at the St. Augustine Private Hospital, and the narcotic has been returned to the man. No report was made to the police on the basis of doctor-patient confidentiality. That secret surgery that was later leaked to the media has been criticized by the United Kingdom Medical Protection Society, or MPS. That organization believes that a doctor should have been called. That organization believes that a doctor should have called in the police because cocaine possession is illegal. The Dominican Republic has for the first time charged someone for terrorism in connection with the torching of a subway car earlier this week that left 35 passengers injured. 21-year-old Frank Kellen Holguin was Thursday remanded to prison for 1 year. He is also charged with attempted multiple murders. Dominican Today reported that he would have been paid $23,000 to carry out the attack in the packed subway car. He did not receive any of the promised cash. No one knows who was behind the attack. Holguin's lawyer, Raul H. Mena, said that they'll appeal the ruling of pretrial detention handed down by Judge Alejandro Vargas. He noted that the authorities coerced his client to confess to the crime that has rocked the society.
We are 15 states with a common goal, a unified purpose to face the world, enriching lives, empowering people, creating a strong economic region. No matter where you're from, no hassle, just freedom. Whether business, school, or pleasure, we will benefit together. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. Oh yeah!
And that's it for Caribbean News Desk. Don't forget you can visit us on our website at caribnewsdesk.com or on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Carib News Desk. We're also on Twitter at twitter.com/demwaves. Don't forget, if you'd like to advertise on our program, you can email us at caribnewsdesk@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us, and do have a great weekend. I'm Dennis Chabrol.